Mr. Bauder, will you swear on a religious document or do you wish to affirm?
The Bible, please.
For the record, please state and spell your first name, your full name.
James, James, Ralph, Ralph, Bauder, Bauder.
Do you swear that the evidence to be given by you to this commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, Mr. Bauder does not have counsel, and he's requested to take the protections available to him in giving his evidence.
Okay, well, I understand you're under subpoena, Mr. Bauder, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I have deemed that the witness has objected to answer each and every question on the ground that his answer may tend to incriminate him or may tend to establish his liability to a civil proceeding at the instance of the Crown or any other person. And if but for the act or the act of any provincial legislature, the witness would therefore have been excused from answering the question. Then although the witness is by reason of the act or provincial act compelled to answer, the answer so given shall not be used or admissible in evidence against him in any criminal trial or other criminal proceeding against him thereafter taking place, other than, of course, a prosecution for perjury in the giving of that evidence or for the giving of contradictory evidence. So that will be for each question and answer, it's taken that you've taken the protection afforded to you under the charter and the various statutes. Okay?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bauder.
Good afternoon, Jeffrey.
Can you tell me where you were born?
I was born in Kamloops, BC, Canada.
I understand today's your birthday.
It is.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And you currently reside in Calgary?
Correct.
And for how long?
Better part of my life, I guess. I met my beautiful wife, Sandy, and moved there 15 years ago, I guess. I've been in Alberta and BC my whole life.
Okay. And what do you do for a living?
I am a truck driver.
And how long have you been driving a truck?
Since I was a kid on the farm.
Has
And
that
then
been
from there in my early 20s, and then went into a different career path than truck driving. And from there, I just picked up the wheels a couple years ago.
Okay. And what was that other career path?
My background started in oil and gas when I was 18 years old. And by the age of 26, I had worked up to consultant level, of where then I specialized in various levels of governance, policy design, and risk mitigation internationally at the C+ director level.
And I understand you have some education in corporate governance.
I've got a very interesting CV, yes.
Could you just briefly tell us a bit about your corporate governance experience?
So I don't know why that's relevant here today. However, I spent a better part of my career looking for the truth and auditing and assessing governance models, looking at the root cause analysis of our governance, and then cross-referencing that over to policies and looking at policy design, and then using risk mitigation factories and modelings. From there, was able to develop corrective action models for projects all over the world.
Thank you. And I want to deal with some of the convoys that you've been involved in. I understand that in 2019, you participated in the United We Roll convoy. That's in February 2019.
Correct.
And that convoy went from Calgary to Ottawa.
Correct. Red
And-
Deer, actually.
Red Deer. And that convoy was involved in protesting legislation related to oil and gas issues.
Yes, at that time, I believe Naughty Notley and Justin Trudeau were ganging up on us, and we said enough of that.
And what was your role in relation to that convoy other than participating in it? Did you have a role?
Yes, I did. My role was to represent unity. I had just started the Canada Unity Foundation, and I got a call from some beautiful people and said, James, this is right up your alley. You should get into this. And that was an amazing journey. Just amazing.
Did you play a role in the planning?
No.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Canada Unity. I understand that Canada Unity is a humanitarian organization that brings people together and bases its foundation on community. Is that
Correct.
And one of the things that Canada Unity does is oppose COVID-19 public health measures?
What Canada Unity is developed into has been my honor and privilege to serve. We represent and we defend all Canadian lawful freedom of choice by coming together in unity.
Okay. And
That's the mission statement.
you have taken a position that with respect to COVID-19 public health measures. What's that position?
I find them all unlawful.
And starting in August of 2021, I understand you started planning for a convoy to Ottawa. Is that
Correct.
correct? And you used the name for that Convoy for Freedom?
Correct. If you'd like, I could elaborate a little bit on that, because there is some relevance to this
Go
and how
ahead.
that Convoy for Freedom was originated, because it's pretty important.
Yes?
When I'm looking at my wife, who comes to me and says, James, it's your job to protect the family. I didn't know what that would detail. However, I just found my faith and got recently baptized. And that day I got baptized, it stuck. It stuck deeply. And you can imagine my world going from international flying, the only object of news I got was CNN and BBC in an airport. So I have a pretty good understanding of how corporate decision makers and policy makers can get very distracted with the media and not get the full facts. So I made a prayer to save my soul because of all the division and divisiveness that I was witnessing in my country. And the answer to that prayer was Convoy for Freedom,
Okay.
and to specialize and put unity at the forefront of that convoy. That's
And does Canada Unity have members?
a few,
How many?
hundreds of thousands.
And how do you join Canada Unity?
We have a platform, multiple platforms.
Now, Mr. Clerk, could you put up on the screen COM 50505? I understand this to be a copy of a Facebook page of yours, and it's dated August 30, 2021.
Correct.
And you say, want to know what Justine Trudeau hates more than protesters? A convoy parked on his front step, just saying. And then You go on, if you have a semi-truck and are willing to step up to save our great nation from becoming China, text me. I am ready to make some noise, but I need you big truckers. So was this a call for people to participate in your convoy?
Yep. Yeah, I was watching and witnessing the destruction of Australia and our brothers down and sisters down there. And two factors gave me the motivation to do this, other than answering and being directed by God on this, was the United Rural Convoy, and me coming here and witnessing the homeless in the streets, where you can check this on Canada Unity's YouTube. I didn't participate in the politics because I'm non-political with our foundation. And that's hard to see that we're actually, there's a definite line there. So I went out and I actually fed the homeless, and I made a documentary on it.
Okay, remember,
That was my first time I came here. So then, yeah. So watching Australia start a convoy over there over these unlawful mandates, and seeing our brothers and sisters down south get treated like third world citizens, it gave me enough motivation to step up and do what Canadians do. We are the peacekeepers of the world. We need to step up in unity and show the world what peace and unity is all about.
I just want to remind you, as we've talked about, we have an hour for you to give your evidence. I know you want to be able to tell your story.
True.
So
You were supposed to do this. Okay.
So you say further down, the convoy will be 100% geared for uniting Canada, no political agendas. You say simple terms, no vax passports Canada-wide, no masks mandate Canada-wide, no more lockdowns Canada-wide. We demand our government put immediate stop to all of the above. Correct? And so that
Correct.
was the goal of that convoy?
Yep.
And you started from Calgary and went to Ottawa.
Correct.
Did you go, in terms of the planning, how many vehicles were part of that convoy?
Upwards of 500 sometimes. And then there was, we made a big boo-boo when we started. We had all our registration dates, and my wife and I were in Calgary with Action for Canada, and we were convoy of one.
Okay. So,
and we got going, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just, it grew.
and you planned it all? Did you,
Yes.
develop the maps and the routes, the logistics, schedules?
No, actually I made a post asking for help. And from there, I got a lot of help. A lot of help.
And
I'm grateful for that.
And when did you arrive in Ottawa?
I can't remember, to be honest. It was in October sometime. And if you're going to ask me dates, I'm terrible with dates. So
Oh, no, October's fine.
if you need the actual date evidence,
No,
I can provide
if
that
I
at a
need
later
it,
time.
I'll ask you for it, okay? Now, if I can ask you to put up on the screen, please, COM 50858. This is another Facebook page of yours from December 13, 2021. And it says, Operation Bear Hug Ottawa was a great success. This was what we've just been talking about, the convoy.
Yep.
And you say Operation Bear Hug. What is the, why Bear Hug?
So if you want, I've got, hang on here. Okay. Where is that one that I'd like to bring up?
Sorry, what are you referring to?
Because I'm going to
sir?
actually read my evidence to answer your question, John, or Jeffrey, if that's
Well, what are
okay.
you referring to?
JBA 00000, so 6043.
Okay, can you
And I
bring
can-
up that document, please?
And then I can answer that question about the bear hug right there. That's not it.
Okay, well, can you just give me an explanation, sir, of why you use the term
Well,
bear
I'd
hug?
really like to actually read my evidence that I submitted here, Jeffrey,
Well,
and
if
that's
this
not
were-
what I quoted. This is not the evidence.
Well, can we do it this way, sir? If you answer my questions,
So
we'll get
the
through
object of a
this.
bear hug, okay? Let's be honest here. We are in a country of division by design. The very root foundations of our government and our governance have division in it. So the opposite of division is unity, pure and simple. And we are a country that has got many problems with division. And if you're in touch with God and you're praying all the way through this, the one thing that came to our team, and this was a team effort. I can't remember the exact person that came up and he said, bear hug. And we started looking at this from a psychology point of view. And it has been an amazing journey to keep love and peace as an organizer with a bunch of truckers. Bridget mentioned here a couple of days ago that you had a couple hundred truckers together, and you know, we're a little rowdy, and I know I am one. So how do you bring together a country in unity that's fighting in division? A bear hug.
Got it.
Love, love, love. And if you want, I can give you a demonstration.
No, I don't need a demonstration. Thank you.
It's evident. And if those that went down to Ottawa or
Can we-
anywhere across
Can
Canada,
we go on to my next question, please?
Sorry,
Can you
Jeffrey.
put back up COM 505858? And just quickly I want to deal with the things you did in Ottawa on that, in that convoy. Say you went maskless shopping and maskless dining on day one. And
every
then,
day.
and then on day two, you went to Dollarama and they shut down their tills, but they were told by the police to open.
Correct.
And then day three, you did a media blockade at CTV. What's a media blockade?
It's we just showed up and
Block the parking lot?
yes, not like we were on the street. So there is laws on doing this, and the police of Ottawa were very, very helpful. And these are the laws that we can operate within.
Yeah, and
Because
then on
I've been
day,
working with the police all the way through from day one, August,
Yeah.
every day. And this is what we can do. So we held CTV and, you know, I think for half an hour or 45 minutes each person. And then we had a little chit chat with them about their propagandas that they were spreading. And yeah, it was
Okay.
lawful, very
and
lawful.
then on day four, you did the same thing with CBC.
Yes,
And then you say you went over to Justine Trudeau's and the Governor General's houses and held a block party in the middle of the street, shutting down the road for about 30 minutes. And you say the police were called and they didn't interfere.
correct.
So that lasted 30 minutes at each residence?
Correct. And there was I do remember something, we did two back-to-back convoys over there because the first convoy, we were told that Trudeau was going to be in the main house, on Sussex, I think. And then he wasn't there. So we turned around, we came back to Confederation Park. And then we got news that he was at the cottage. So we did a pretty big convoy size at that point. So we jumped in and we went back to the cottage, and you know, the police that were there with us, they were pretty cool. They all started scurrying and trying to catch up to us. And then they caught up to us and I said, James, what are you doing? So I said, we lost something. And he said, well, what'd you lose? And I said, our freedom. We're trying to go find it.
Okay, thank you. And then so you also went to Prime Minister Trudeau's house again, is what you're telling us, and the Governor General's house, and you blocked the road during rush hour traffic. Is that?
Correct. And all the evidence and the videos we uploaded for you for that.
And further down, you mention Bear Hug 2.
Correct.
And so your plan was to repeat this, if you could do that?
So the original Bear Hug 1, we had been marketing and promoting Convoy to Ottawa and doing several convoys all across the board and marketing when the time comes that the federal mandate is imposed on the trucking industry. Get ready, be prepared. So we thought that was going to come on in December. That's why we were there for Bear Hug 1. And it didn't happen. So we knew that the federal government was still itching to put this federal travel mandate on and force us to take vaccines just to travel. So we went home, as you can see, and then just as I get into Calgary, Facebook shuts off my everything. They reinstated it, but we were completely taken out of the equation. So
I'd like to go on and talk about the MOU that you mentioned in that docket, the Memorandum of Understanding.
yes,
And can you bring up, please, COM 50866? And can you just scroll through that and confirm for me that that is your memorandum of understanding?
I have the original right here. So
Well,
piece of history right here in front of me. That's 15 pages. That's not the original.
can you tell me what this document is then?
I need to see the whole document. I haven't seen this.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll scroll through it.
There we go. Okay. No. So this is the French and English version?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, this was the original.
okay. And then I take it that this document was prepared by you and by your wife, Sandra, and by a gentleman named Martin Broadman.
Correct.
And who is Mr. Broadman?
Martin Broadman is a truck driver with a also similar interesting past with his background. He also worked international as well.
And I think it would be an understatement to say that this is a very important document to you.
It served its purpose.
Okay. And has it remained the same since the outset? Have there been any changes to it?
Not since we strategically withdrew.
Sorry?
Not since we were strategically withdrew.
And so that's, you withdrew that in February 2022.
February 8th, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. After we got viciously attacked by this government and slandered and defamed and character assassinationed and
Yeah,
everything.
we'll come to that.
Okay.
If we can go to page 2, please. If you just scroll up. Next page. Sorry, can you go back? Now, the parties to this agreement, if you can scroll a little further, are listed as the concerned Canadian citizens, the Senate of Canada, and the Governor General.
I think you missed a few more people. Back up there, please.
I'm trying to, we
Okay.
can all read it. I'm just trying to summarize it.
Okay.
If you can keep going, please. To where it says, on back to where it says the Senate of Canada, or sorry, let me start with the concerned Canadian citizens where we were.
Mm-hmm.
There it says represented by you and your wife and Martin Broad, correct?
Correct.
And the Senate of Canada be represented by the Honorable George J. Furey, QC, the Speaker,
Correct.
and the Governor General would be the Honorable Mary May Simon,
Correct.
representing the Queen in Canada. Now, did you have any legal assistance in drafting this document?
No.
The three of you did it on your own?
Yep.
And so
Because an MOU isn't a legal anything. It's just words. So
And I take it that your intention was to have the Senate and the Governor General enter into this MOU along with you, correct?
had the Senate or the Governor General responded, then the next step would have been immediately contacting multiple organizations that we've been working with across Canada, like Police on Guard for Thee, Action for Canada, Vaccine Choice. I mean, I could keep going. We had Take Back Our Freedom. We had a lot of groups that we could have we could have facilitated establishing the Canadian Citizens Committee so that we could then sit down in partnership with the Senate and the Governor General and address the unlawful mandates that are happening across this country and come to some resolution.
Now, can we come to Article 3 where it says mandate? I'd just like to review these with you. So Canada Unity, that's CU, and I guess that's SCGGC, which is the Senate and the Governor General, agree to form a committee called Citizens of Canada Committee. And that committee undertakes and appoints authorized representatives. The Senate and Governor General undertake to appoint authorized representatives, and Canadian Unity does the same, correct?
At that point, Canada Unity is out because we would have had a group of individuals that come forward, of doctors and scientists and
Well, you see-
specialists and so on and so forth. So at that point, Canada Unity would have been out of it and
I'm just
CCC would have
reading-
taken it over.
The document, sir, and if you go to Article 1, you see Canada Unity and in brackets CU. And then we come down to Article 3A, it says CU. So you're referring there to Canada Unity, right?
Correct.
And if we can look at Article 3D, the parties adopt and adhere to various legislation that you've set out there. And coming down to E, SCGGC will effective as of midnight on that date, instruct all levels of the federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments to immediately cease and desist all unconstitutional human rights, discriminatory and segregated actions, and not limited to immediately instruct all levels of federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments to not only stop, but furthermore waive all SARS-CoV-2 and not limited to SARS-CoV-2 subsequent variation fines that have been issued and imposed on its citizens, institutions, and private enterprises. And so in that, the SCGGC would have the authority to instruct those levels of government to do that?
Yeah, if we'd all entered into an agreement, this is just here, we'd like to talk about this, but it means nothing because nobody signed it and nobody entered into it. So it's non-binding. But that was the hope that we had presented, that we could sit down and collectively come to an agreement to cease and desist on all these unlawful mandates.
And you understand, sir, that the purpose of a memorandum of understanding is to set out the principles that will then be formalized into an agreement, right?
Yeah, I believe that's right here in front of you. That was our principles that we wanted to.
And if we look at paragraph F, I won't read everything, but there, but it's again, instruct all levels of government, to reinstate all employees in all branches of government, private industry, institutional sector employees with full lawful employment rights prior to the wrongful dismissal and unlawful dismissal stemming from SARS-CoV-2 and subsequent vaccine passport mandates. And if we can just, and then we go over to G. The SCGGC will issue a cease and desist order, abolishing all federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal vaccine passport requirements, vaccine discriminatory regulations, initiatives, and mandates regarding SARS-CoV-2,
Mhm.
correct? And so this committee would have the power to issue a cease and desist order?
If we had been able to get to that
Yes.
aspect and the committee had come to an agreement that we had proved our case that all of this was unlawful,
Yes,
at that
and-
point, then obviously the next step would be to do a cease and desist because of laws being broken and tyranny and treason and crimes against humanity that are listed within the document.
And then H provides for a further cease and desist order to the members of the Government of Canada with instructions to the premiers and the mayors to stop all such unlawful activities pursuant to Article 3. So they would have the power to do that if you'd come to an agreement.
Correct.
And then in J, it says, by signing this memorandum, Canada Unity will immediately stop Operation Bear Hug Ottawa demonstration / convoy and federal referendum activities, and will strive to work with all groups and entities to bring this country together in unity.
Correct.
That was, if you had this memorandum agreed to, then you were going to stop the protests. Is that right?
Correct. If we could have entered into an agreement, that would have been, that's all we wanted to do was communicate with our government. And we tried every single option available to us
Right.
multiple times. We exhausted all means of communication with this government from one part of Canada, from coast to coast to coast.
And you'll see in, just to further the point you've been making, under L, there's to be a final signed agreement in place within 90 days of accepting the memorandum, correct?
Yeah, we felt that 90 days would have been given enough time to strike the committees and talk to Canada about this process. And then from there, sign into and enter into an agreement.
And then if we can come down to Article 4C, SCGGC will represent itself as the Government of Canada as a whole and not party related.
Correct.
You're saying that SCGGC is now the Government of
No.
Canada?
No, not even close. In correlation to everything that we would be discussing as a committee, we have the people and the government together. And that was, the best that we could come up with is that this committee would bring forward on behalf of the government of Canada and represent the wills of the committee.
Okay. And
And that it wouldn't, so in that it wouldn't be party related, because when you look at the Liberals versus the NDPs versus the Conservatives, there's so much division in that whole process of governance right there in itself that we didn't want the parties being involved. We wanted to have a direct correlation to the source root of our laws, which is, we believe, the Senate, because they make the laws, they amend the laws. And a very interesting part in the Helsinki Act that's listed
sir,
in here, that comes from the Nuremberg codes,
I
is
think we're
that the
getting a bit
Senate
far afield, sir.
can enforce the laws.
Okay, thank
When
you.
our government has chosen to completely ignore all the moral aspects that come from the laws that so many people represent and defend.
So you're saying the Senate under those acts has the right to enforce the laws against the elected government? Is that what you're saying?
Under the declaration, Helsinki, yes,
Okay, thank you. Now,
because we signed on to it
I
as a
understand.
government and as a country to stand up for all humanity and end discrimination and segregation. And it is a law that we
If you could,
as a country
You
stood
don't
up
have to
for
shout,
and signed
sir.
on to.
can you,
Let's just stay calm, please.
no, I know you're emotional and that's understandable, but if you could try and just keep it down.
No, I don't apologize. I
No,
will.
don't have to
I will.
apologize.
I
Just,
will. Calm down.
just,
This is emotional when we see our government completely violating all the laws.
I understand.
And where do we turn to? The Senate is our last hope. And that's what's in their paychecks and their job descriptions.
Now, and you widely publicized your MOU. You wanted as many people as possible to know what you were doing?
Correct.
Yeah, and I want to skip ahead if I can for well, actually, let me ask you first. When you were in Ottawa with the Canada Unity Convoy, I understand you sent this by registered mail to the Senate and the Governor General. Is that right?
We sent it all over and it's listed in the MOU who we sent it to.
Okay. But those were the people that you sent it to because those are the parties. And then you sent it to a number of other entities, correct?
Correct.
And if we can come forward for just a moment, and I'll come back to the Freedom Convoy in January, February 22. I understand one of your purposes was to again see if you could get the attention of the Senate and the Governor General to sign this memorandum, correct?
Enter into an agreement with
Yes.
the committee.
And when you were in Ottawa in January, February 2022, did you again send it to those parties?
No. It's already been sent.
I see. Okay.
And it was receiving an enormous amount of support. Our servers were going crazy,
And-
literally.
And you were aware, weren't you, that the Governor General was getting a lot of phone calls from people that supported this?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Why? Was that a problem?
I'm just asking the questions.
Okay. So was I.
Now, you told us before that you withdrew the MOU, I think on February 8th. And if you can bring up OTT 30-24296. You'll see that's addressed to Honorable Mary Simon, Governor General, withdrawing the memorandum of understanding. It has come to our attention that the MOU is being erroneously presented in the House as a means of displacing the democratically elected government. This was not the intention behind or purpose of this document. So you, in effect, retracted it, correct?
I didn't retract. I withdrew.
Sorry?
I didn't retract. I withdrew.
Okay.
And if I
says
had
in the last
my
paragraph-
statement, I could actually bring that statement up that I gave you.
Yeah.
And it shows.
And and why did you do that? Why did you withdraw it?
I can tell you I didn't want to, and that I didn't need to. However, we had grown and morphed so fast as a humble family of truckers coming together. And there was documents flying left, right, and center, press releases, Zoom calls. We were going at Mach 2 and 2 phones and 18 gears. And I think looking back at the amount of work that we were doing nationwide to come together and put this convoy together, there were so many people that had never heard of me, and I hadn't heard of them, but we were all coming together for the greater good. So one thing that we had done is sit down as a group, and we had brought this forward. Martin, being the president of Truckers United Inc., had a lot of truckers, and yeah, we talked about the MOU. We addressed that it deals with all of our mandates, and it's a document that we're presenting to the government to try to communicate. And we want to negotiate and sit down and say, hey, you've created and committed crimes against us by unlawfully enacting these unlawful mandates. So we would like to sit down as a group. And the MOU actually addresses all of that. It always did from day one, because 2 truckers sat down and wrote it. And a bunch of other truckers came in at the last minute. And they didn't get a privilege to, who here has actually read the MOU?
Sorry, sir, that's not the way you conduct yourself in this room. Would you
Sure.
answer my question?
What's the question again?
Let me suggest to you that you withdrew it because there were other people associated
so-
with the Freedom Convoy.
So
Let me
everybody's
finish. Let me
everybody's
finish,
just getting
please,
together
sir.
in Ottawa.
Let
And
me finish, please, sir.
I will.
Thank you. You withdrew it because other people involved in the Freedom Convoy asked you to do so because it was creating problems for the very reasons that you list there, that people, you say, interpreted it as displacing the democratically elected government. Is that right?
Correct.
Thank you. And you did refer to a document. I don't think we have to bring it up now, but it's JBA 6064, where you explain that the memorandum of understanding was officially withdrawn on February 8 because of external pressures after an intense slanderous media smear campaign directed at the group Canada Unity and the founders, the authors Martin Broadman, James Bauder, and Sandra Bauder, correct? Yeah.
If I can just go back in time on that, because it was pretty raw.
I understand.
Here we are as a freedom movement, and inside that freedom movement, we have been talking about fake media and all the slander stuff they do, and how our government uses very, very hateful, harmful wordsmithing directed at us. And it was never the intention to cause confusion behind this, but I love my brothers and sisters that were coming here so much that this meant nothing. We'd already won because we came here
I
together in
understand.
unity. So in our perspective internally, the fact that they tuned on to CBC and CTV and Global, which they better be lowering up, because I'm going to be suing them for everything on what they've done to me and my family. That's when it was like, this has gone so out of control that it's lost where it should be. And at this point, I just said, you know what, team, we've won. The rest is in hands. Let's just withdraw this from a temporary point of view and sit back and observe and see where this goes. So.
Right, and the media was, in your view, mischaracterizing it as an attempt to overthrow Canada's democratic government. Is that
So I just want to put it out there that I want you to all think here for a second here. They unlawfully arrested.
Sorry, sir, I'm going to stop you. This isn't the place to give speeches. You answer the question, and you've answered it. Thank you.
There's more to ask.
And could you pull up, Mr. Clerk, ALB 401819. Now, are you familiar with the fact that after the Emergencies Act came into effect, there was an explanation offered by the government as to why they put it into effect?
I haven't seen this document before.
Okay, I just want to take you to one paragraph and ask you about it. If you can go to page 5, please. So that paragraph that starts the protests, if you look on the screen, it's there, sir. The protests have become a rallying point for anti-government and anti-authority, anti-vaccination conspiracy theory and white supremacist groups throughout Canada and other Western countries. Protesters have varying ideological grievances with demands ranging from an end to all public health restrictions to overthrow the elected government. As one example, protest organizers have suggested forming a coalition government with opposition parties and the involvement of Governor General Mary Simon. Was that part of your memorandum of understanding?
Nope. This is hilarious, though.
And you see it says, this suggestion appears to be an evolution of a previous proposal from a widely circulated memorandum of understanding from a group called Canada Unity that is taking part in the convoy. The memorandum of understanding proposed that the Senate and Governor General could agree to join them in forming a committee to order the revocation of COVID-19 restriction and vaccine mandates. And I just want to deal with the issue of appears to be an evolution. In your view, was there ever an evolution from the memorandum of understanding to suggest that there be a coalition government with opposition parties and the Governor General?
No, and we talked about that already in there where it said that the reason that we didn't want the parties in was because they weren't invited. This was just strictly the people of Canada and to sit with their Senate. That was it.
And
So this will help me actually with my lawsuit when I sue them. So thank you.
you're welcome. Now, do you know Tom Marazzo?
Mr. Tom.
Yeah.
I didn't know him.
Did you ever talk to him about your memorandum of understanding?
Yeah. I don't know if, I can't really recall if we did. We talked for about 15 minutes twice. Over the phone and then in person. And then
And if we can,
very grateful.
I just want to show you a couple of other, in the interest of time, I will move on. You mentioned a document
Can I-
before. I want to take you to it, COM 50857.
Jeffrey, for
Yes.
1 second, can I just reference, or Jason, can you reference
Well,
that number?
you can get it afterwards, sir.
The number was ALB 1819.
ALB 00040
Lots of zeros.
1819.00.
Sorry, I'll give you that again. ALB 401819.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Got it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, can we go to COM 50857? And I think you referred to this before, and I wanted to give you a chance to tell me about it. You'll see it's again, a Facebook post dated September 16, 21, to Constable Isabel Cyr-Piddock of the Ottawa Police. And you told us before that you remained in contact with the Ottawa Police during the Canada Unity convoy?
Correct.
And was this part of the contact that you were talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, speaking of contact with the police, prior to us getting involved, we took this MOU to Police on Guard for the nationwide. And we were ecstatic as two truck drivers that this prestigious, honored group of Canadians that represent our police and our military would endorse the MOU nationwide. And
Mr. Bauder, you're kind of venturing off the questions.
so,
We'll get a chance at the end to
Yeah, we
make
were-
a statement or something, so
Okay.
because
sorry,
we want
Lots
to
of
try and
questions.
get through it, because there's
it's
another.
tough. I
witness.
like to tell stories, so
I know you do, and it's obvious, but we're going to try and control
Yeah.
this, okay?
And
Thank you.
this, I can tell you that this document is in evidence now, and it will be reviewed as part of the process of the commission in coming to its conclusions. I'd like to take you now to the Freedom Convoy in the period of February 2022. I understand that your view is that this was just a continuation of the planning that you started in August of 21.
Correct. We didn't stop. Our whole team, just 24/7, every day we were doing it. We were going and we were standing up for our lawful freedom of choice.
And at some point, you put in touch with some other people who were thinking of organizing a convoy as well
When?
in late December, early January. Pat King.
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
Remember?
Lots
Chris
of people were
Barber.
calling me wanting in on this convoy.
So who called you about that? Do you remember?
No. Where are you going at with Jeffrey?
Well, you
Lots of people
remember
called
who
me.
called you about getting a convoy going the end of December, early January?
A lot of people were calling me to get
Okay, Did you
we
speak
were
to,
already,
did you speak to Chris Barber?
nope, until a Zoom call. I didn't know Chris before.
Okay.
I met him on a Zoom.
Who invited you to the Zoom call?
Uh,
Pat King?
I told Pat to put us. So you're referring to how we all came together as a team?
Yes.
Okay, so
But
I
I'd like
believe
you just
we,
to answer my questions and we'll get through this.
yeah, so you got to be a little bit more, like if you're looking for specific information and who I was talking to, then just put their name.
Sure.
I
So
can't
let's
read
go
your
to
mind.
the Facebook Live event that was hosted by Pat King. That was January 13th.
Okay.
And did you know Mr. King at this point?
Yep.
How did you know him?
He was with the convoy that we came here to Ottawa with back in 2019.
And did you follow him on social media?
Not really, no.
Okay. And you recall that Bridget Belton and Chris Barber also participated in that Facebook Live.
Yes.
And later on, you met Tamara Leach.
Here in the Arc Hotel for the first time.
Okay.
And I didn't talk to her. I just seen her. And
And
I'd never met her before. And I talked to her on the phone prior to launching all this. I did my due diligence to make sure that our trusted invested interest in this whole movement. One thing that you don't want to put truck drivers with funds and stuff like that. We got enough to do, and we were looking for and trying to recruit somebody that we could trust to handle all the funds. And I remember talking with Bridget, and then talking, and she'd mentioned that Chris was hooked up with her, and they were, building the convoy. They were going to do some slow rolls and stuff like that. And I think we'd mentioned that we already had Bear Hug Canada, so that was the, for those that couldn't come to Ottawa, Bear Hug Canada would represent the slow rolls and so on and so forth.
can I just stop you there? Those were individual protests that you had were promoting across the country.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
So
And
at
so,
at that point, yeah, we all came together on a big Zoom and.
And so I understand that from your perspective, what happened then was that this was, you provided the structure for people to participate in this convoy by providing the material that you'd already worked up and developed for your own convoy.
All the logistical aspects behind the scenes with our national partnerships that we established, that, you know, they were all involved already, and anybody was welcome because we're about unity. So we were, you want in, come on in. We don't care. This is for all of Canada to come together in unity. So
And so were you in touch with the, you left Calgary when on this, do you recall?
which time?
For the, in January of 22.
Yeah, when we left.
Yeah, and were you in touch with you yourself, were you in touch with the police along the way?
Extensively, every day.
Talking about what sort of things?
We had all sorts of routes going on. We had captains of the yin yang that were coming in. The western route was pretty easy to put together. It was the eastern, southern eastern Ontario routes. They gave us a lot of logistical stress, and we had to work very, very carefully with multiple police individuals. And so what we did was, instead of working, I worked with staff sergeants that had been working with since August 1st. So hey, we're coming back. How you doing? Get prepared. And then from there, they started funneling police to start connecting in with the captains.
And so,
And as we started bringing more captains in, then we would start working on the routes in the back end so that it all flowed. And if you look at all the route maps and everything else, everything flowed into Wellington. So.
and I take it that you were in contact with both the OPP and the Ottawa Police Service, is that?
OPP, PPS, and OPS.
And so what happened when you got to Ottawa? How were you directed to go
So
somewhere?
I was coming in from the west, and what I wanted to do was hook up with Martin Broadman, and I knew that Bridget was bringing in the crew and our family coming in from Southern Ontario, and it was always planned that she would come in a day ahead of time. And then that actually turned out we had to split it up at the last minute because there was just so many trucks and it was just so large. So that became a Friday and a Saturday event. Then from there, I left to literally drove all night kind of thing so that we could get over to meet with the Eastern convoy, as the Western convoy with Chris and Tamara, they're coming in. Bridget's in with all the captains from the southern area, and there's still more captains coming in on that day as well. So then we're bringing we got the west routes, and then we went and grabbed the east routes so that we could all come together in unity.
And when you
close
came
circle.
together and about to enter Ottawa, were you being directed where to go?
Yeah, we were shamboozled and blindsided, because I can tell you that was not the original plans that we had set down with those police. If you looked at the original mapping that was well posted, it was all points lead into Wellington. And we had really good detailed mapping on that. So
Yeah.
you can imagine our surprise when we get to these blockades that, honestly, a real convoy, do 98, crash the gate. We got us a convoy. We didn't crash no gates because we respect the laws. We respect the citizens. We were working in partnership with the police. But when we hit that, the edge of town, and we're like, this isn't what we planned on. And from that point on, I got a lot of flack for that. People were blaming me and throwing me under the bus. As soon as I got downtown, it's like, and I was like, I didn't do this.
What were they blaming you for?
For not getting the trucks in to Wellington, like we had all agreed on.
And was the plan for all the trucks to be on Wellington?
There was two main routes that were on our maps, and our logistics team had put that in, and our maps are uploaded into the server. So there again, you'd have to bring those back up and review them all. But it was 2 main corridors that we'd had, and I don't have that off the top of my head.
And so where did you yourself go?
I went back to Confederation Park to start with Unity 1, and that's where I parked to Unity 1 and then straight over to the Arc Hotel.
And what type of vehicle were you driving?
A 1991 Glendale Royal Classic that was adopted and named Unity 1, not by us, but
Sorry for
Unity 1, because it was the first convoy vehicle that started this Unity movement.
And what size vehicle is that?
That's big. It's 30-footer.
Okay. And can you put up, please, Mr. Clerk, OPP 00001489? And this is a document you won't have seen before, Mr. Bauder, but it's comes from the Ontario Provincial Police Report, and it's dated January 28, 2022. And if you can go to item 5, I believe it is. And it refers to a video posted on the Canada Unity Facebook page. And it says, James Bauder, who is driving in the convoy, indicates that Operation Bear Hug was intended to bring the law to Ottawa, and they will not leave the city until the law has been restored and they get their lawful freedom back. Is that something that you can recall communicating to the OPP that you talked about?
Correct. Yeah, multiple times.
And then it says, well, Bauder states that they have made plans so that members of the public and public transportation in Ottawa will not be disrupted. And let me stop there. What were those plans?
From day one, Convoy 1, always keep the lanes open. That was well communicated. We had a code of conduct that everybody had agreed to, had been distributed to all the truckers, well communicated. And between the captains and the police, we worked in partnership together multiple times, conversations, and so on and so forth. And public safety has always been precedent number 1, always. So anything that we could do working together in partnership, and that actual word was used multiple times, partnership and safety.
Thank you. And it goes on to say, he also hints that there are plans that they cannot make public for strategic and security reasons.
Where is that?
Bauder further states that he anticipates that they will win in Ottawa, after which they will proceed to the United States to support the truck drivers there. Was that part of your
What date is this?
plan?
What date is this?
January 28th, 2022.
22. Yeah. We lit up the world. And our brothers and sisters down south in the border, all the truck drivers, they started seeing what we're doing. And yeah, they were pretty excited, and they started convoying down there. And we figured, well, when this is done, maybe we'll go down there and we'll give them some support because they're supporting us up here. So that was what that was about.
And then it says, he further references a memorandum of understanding that has been prepared that, once signed, will result in Prime Minister Trudeau, Aaron O'Toole, and the NDP leader stepping down. Is that something that you told the OPP?
Don't recall.
Sorry?
I mean, obviously, I mean, if we catch them committing treason, which we believe they have, they'd be stepping down, right? And all the evidence that we wanted to sit down with the Senate and say, here, you know, we believe our government is committing treason, enforce the laws, please, Senate. At that point, yes, we would definitely expect to see Trudeau and, well, Aaron O'Toole isn't anymore, but, you know, applicable members that would be identified throughout Canada that have committed treason and crimes against humanity. And we will never stop until that is public and on, another hearing needs to come from this.
I see my time is up. Could I have a few more minutes, please, Commissioner?
You actually have another 15 minutes.
Oh, I do?
Oh, good.
Well,
We
it's your
obviously
lucky
left
day,
a lot of
Mr.
time.
Bauder.
Yeah, keep it going.
Actually, it's for 13 minutes.
Thank you. Now, you told us you were you parked your vehicle in Confederation Park, and I understand that there were some people who set up a teepee in Confederation Park. Were you part of that?
A teepee?
Yeah.
There was no teepees. We wanted teepees and we could have had teepees, but there was no teepees that I was aware of.
Was there an incident that the police spoke to you about regarding Pat King and things that were going on at Confederation Park?
Correct.
And can you briefly tell the commissioner what that was?
So a couple of days into landing at the Ark, it was pretty hectic and chaotic, and I was very blessed to come across these two tribal sovereign clan mothers that I met at the Ark Hotel. And being my wife is Algonquin, it was a very interesting conversation, and we respect our elders deeply. And when two clan moms come up to you and want to talk to you, and the relevance behind Confed Park is that when we were here for Bear Hug 1, we had attained the permission to use Confed Park, and we attained the permission again to use Confed Park. Okay,
Yes.
so we had all that in play for Bear Hug 1 and Bear Hug 2. So that's why we took Unity 1 to Confed Park, and our team was down there. And then comes along what I think is controlled op, because what I was seeing from Pat King, and then this incident that happened at Confed Park, where this what I learned from the clan mums was that there was a fake chief named Chief J.D. Anderson. Now, he's claiming himself as a chief, but I find out from the clan mums, who are the hierarchy in the law in tribal, that this was not the case, and that he was running around Ottawa, and there was I'm a trucker. I don't know anything about controlled op and all the rest of that stuff, and a lot of us didn't. That's why we had to call police on guard and help, get in here.
And I take it that
So there was lots of these little incidents and bubbles of just, shit disturbers, right? Looking for attention.
and I
so
take it that at
I
some
think
point,
Pat got wrapped up in that.
yeah,
And then they did something that is very wrong. They started a fire, and a sacred fire. Okay, there's a difference between starting a burn barrel kind of thing, but this fake chief was running around, and Pat's there, and all these controlled op people that we'd identified were hanging out, and it just was very greasy. This wasn't our, that they basically just sort of, we're taking Confed Park over, and from there, that caused a lot of conflict.
and I take it that ultimately they
Oh, it got big. This
left-
incident just about caused you have no idea what happened behind the scenes. And that took me out. Okay. You didn't know where James was putting fires out, trying to stop the Indian natives, from going after Pat King and these fake chiefs. So I worked with the clan mums, who then worked with City Hall. I worked with the police, and together we worked in partnership for safety, and we had to shut down Confed Park. And I was mad, because had that event not happened, the clan mums were working to try to bring in some teepees. And you can imagine if we'd had some teepees there, because that would have completed the circle of unity. Without our tribal, we have no unity in this country. And they were very much a big part of this unity movement from coast to coast to coast. So we were really excited to get
Thank you.
an opportunity, and sadly controlled ops
And
destroyed that.
so we've heard evidence about various complaints made by residents when the convoy was in Ottawa, things like constant honking, smell of diesel fumes, harassment. Did you see and experience that?
I experienced the biggest unity celebration in my life. And with that, you got everything else that comes with it.
And just a few more questions. Did you have any contact with truckers that were organizing blockades at Windsor?
Nope.
Coots?
Nope.
Emerson?
Nope.
Surrey?
Nope.
And yesterday, Mr. Marazzo, in his evidence, we had a live stream press conference from February 7th, and he made the statement, "I'm willing to sit at a table with the Conservatives and the NDP and the Bloc as a coalition. I'll sit with the Governor General. Put us at the table with somebody that actually cares about Canada." Did you know about that statement?
No.
Did you have anything to do with it?
No. Sounds like a good statement, though. That's what we wanted to do. And Tom was entrusted deeply, and we're very, very grateful for Tom. Very grateful. He was exactly what we needed to help a bunch of truckers out that had a lot of emotions, a lot of fears. We had multiple police officers and agencies.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on.
I understand.
When
And can we
Tom
come
came in
then
with his
to,
background, it was a big help.
I think at some point after the Emergency Act was invoked, I understand that you and your wife were arrested. Is that right?
Correct. And I'd like to bring that video up if we could, because that shows
How long is the video?
5
sir?
minutes. Not even. It's actually
Okay.
quick.
We'll
It's
can at
actually
least
quick.
show
I think
part
this
of
is
it.
relevant because it really is.
It's the new video that you just received.
That's that
Martin?
no,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
that's the one that
Yes,
that we had problems with.
yes.
this is the hearing clerk. Just for everyone's benefit, that video is a JBA 6081.
Thank you.
So I'm just coming out of the Arc Hotel here on Sunday. Okay. And this constable here, if you're planning on leaving, yes, we were. And you can see the blockade of snow where we couldn't leave. We were obstructed. We couldn't leave if we tried. Just down the other side behind Unity 1 here, just down the road, there's a snow clearing crew coming down.
Especially with it being snowed in. So you're willing to leave right now? We don't need to take action? I gotta get my hotel room. Okay. Okay.
Right there, we're cooperating.
Talk to Sergeant Louis with OPS.
Now, also, when I came down, I was blindsided. I hadn't even had my morning coffee or nothing. And 15 of these officers had a crowbar. They were trying to break into Unity 1. I said, hey, whoa. I'll get the keys. Okay, please don't hurt it. And ran back up. I grabbed my keys. I came back down.
And I want out.
I want out.
Done no lawful harm to anybody.
Sooner the better.
Well, no. So the question is, they're gonna give you time to check out? Well, we're talking minutes, not hours.
Minutes. How am I supposed to get out of that in minutes?
Well, can you back it out and go out?
An RV don't back out
RV, guys,
of that
it
crap.
doesn't move that way.
I was blocked by Ottawa. city crews that didn't do their job and clean the streets.
You can call the auto police in 7 days. This guy just said he was gonna let me move up. No, not happening. Vehicles that are parked in this zone are all being towed and seized. Find your own way home. Leave the
I
area.
actually don't.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm Stu.
Stu? Stu, what? Where do you live?
I'm in the hotel here.
Where do you live? Is this your house?
I'm homeless and I've lived downtown Ottawa.
You live downtown Ottawa?
No.
I'm homeless.
Where?
You have a
I don't have
constable
ID,
sergeant or
no.
somebody-
Like, I've got, I guess, my health card.
Yeah, perfect. 7 days, you can call the auto police and get a release for it. Please leave the area. Alright. Is over. Conversation is over. What part of that do you not understand? We've already arrested 2 people at this location. Yeah, absolutely. So, go check out. You give you, how long did you give them?
So when I run your name, they're gonna tell me your address is gonna come back to what?
Find your own way home.
Probably somewhere in Sudbury because I'm homeless and I've been in Ottawa since Canada Day and I've been living here. I'm on the, like,
Can you just pause it there, please?
Do you want?
At what point, can we forward it?
Yeah,
This part
yeah, just
uh,
a little bit.
about,
Sure, try there.
okay, let's try there.
Mm,
Maybe back.
Keep going, keep going. I think what you're gonna see from here, I don't know, keep going. There is audio, extensive audio behind this.
Well, it's a little too long at this point.
So I
because the
think
time is
because
up.
it's already, we don't
Okay,
need.
but
to
we
do this.
get,
I mean,
we
I was arrested,
understand your,
people
your
saying this
evidence,
and-
sir, as
and,
to what happened to you.
You'll notice that we
Yes.
cooperated completely. And if you got the rest of this, you would see that my wife and I were very lawful, very peaceful, very respectful, as we always have been with the police from
Thank
day
you.
one.
Those are my questions, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If we could, I could call on the Government of Canada, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bauder.
Good afternoon.
My name is Brendan Vinianice, and I'm one of the lawyers for the Government of Canada in this matter. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I wonder if we could go to a document that you wrote, I think, after you had left Ottawa.
Which time?
It's JBA 6043.
On the first time, the second time, or the third time? Because I did 3 nationwide convoys.
I'm not sure, you might have to tell me, but let me just ask you first if this is a letter that you prepared.
Yep.
And looking at it, I suppose in fact, you were still on the, as you say, on the front line in Ottawa when you wrote it, and you talk about having been there for about 3 weeks, right?
Can you just shrink this down a little bit so I can just, I mean, there's so much that, okay, so what do you need for a question?
So this is a document that you wrote and made public after being in Ottawa for about 3 weeks.
Okay,
Is that fair?
okay.
And if we look at the 7th paragraph on the page, it's the one that starts, "The call for freedom, unity, and love has gone out, and Canadians answered." Do you see that?
Correct.
And in the last sentence of that paragraph, you say that you made a choice, you Canadians, I guess, made a choice to come to Ottawa, to Coutts, to Windsor, and make your stand for freedom. Is it fair?
All across Canada, coast to coast, we came together for our freedoms.
And you told Mr. Leon that you were not in contact directly with the participants at the events in Coutts and Windsor, for example, while you were in Ottawa, but you were grateful for the response across the country. Is that fair?
Yeah, very grateful because they chose unity over division.
And you accomplished more than you could have hoped to accomplish in terms of the national and international response. Is that fair, Mr. Bauder? Yeah. You saw that what you had done inspired the protests at the borders in Coutts, Windsor, and Emerson, Manitoba, for example.
What I had done, I didn't.
What you and others
We-
had done.
there was-
What you and others
what
had done.
we, Team Canada,
Yeah.
had done.
The collective you when I asked this question. And that those efforts by you and others also inspired events at the Thousand Islands Bridge near Cornwall, the Blue Water and Sarnia Port Huron crossing, the Peace Bridge, the Fort Francis crossing, and the Confederation Bridge in Prince Edward Island, right?
It was a lot of people coming together because they were in pain.
You inspired convoys in Surrey, BC, Vancouver, Toronto, Quebec City, Regina, and Winnipeg.
I convoy for freedom. It's what we do. So if I'm guilty of anything, it's because I love to convoy and I love looking for my freedom that's missing. So apparently other people, they wanted to convoy too on their own accords under the Bill of Rights.
And similar convoys
amazing.
were inspired in the United States too, right?
Well, we started campaigning strategically bear hug, which I'm still wowed at how that traveled around the world. It was convoy for freedom, freedom for convoy, and bear hug. Those three just exploded around the world, and it's still amazing. It's godly.
It went as far as New Zealand, Australia, Paris, Belgium, Finland, and the Netherlands, right?
Thank you.
And the United Kingdom, right?
Worldwide, we had the biggest unity movement in the world, and that goes down in history. And that's all of us, Canada. Thank you for coming together in unity and showing the world what this is all about. Thank you.
Could we go to your statement of evidence, which you submitted to the commission? It's JBA 6080. This is the statement that you prepared and you submitted this, I guess, over the weekend, eh?
Oh boy, oh boy. You
Or on
bringing
Monday.
this one up, are you?
This is the evidence statement that you were asking Mr. Leon to see earlier.
Canada. This is the one that you want to look at and download and read because it has links to evidence contained within that link Trudeau to treason.
We'll come back to that. Could we go to page 4, please? If we could go towards the bottom of the page under the heading, the launch of Canada Unity Convoy for Freedom. Do you see that area there?
Yep.
And you describe in the first paragraph under that heading that what happened to you in the spring of 2021 that led to the launch of Canada Unity, right?
Yep.
And I understand from what you've written here that your employer, where you were a full-time truck driver, came to you and said that you would need to provide proof that you'd been injected with the COVID vaccines in order to be allowed access to their clients' facilities, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, you say that you were forced to quit your job, right?
Yeah.
And that's because if you were not willing to become vaccinated, then you would not be able to continue to attend at your employer's client's place of business, right?
Vaccinated with the RMNA gene altering therapy. Yes.
And that was a requirement that was imposed upon your employer as a
Correct.
condition of continuing to do business with the client, right?
Correct.
And to be clear, that was not a decision that was imposed upon you by government. Is that fair?
No, that's not fair.
Could we go to page 6, please?
Sir, can you back up and what was that question again?
I
That you
said
asked
that
me?
that was not a decision that was imposed upon you by government.
Oh, no, that 100% was imposed by this federal government as the main root of all of it, and then followed by provincial governments that are so eager for a little piece of the trough to get some money, and then the municipal governments at the very end. So a three-ring circus of just total unlawful issue of unlawful mandates.
That's your explanation for why you quit your employment, Mr. Bauder?
No, I quit my employment because I'm never going to put that ever in me. I don't have any problems with vaccines. I've traveled internationally. I got lots of vaccines. Okay, those are medically approved and tested and everything else, but there's no darn way I'm going to put some gene altering therapy into me. That's no good. And no way. That's my medical rights. That's my lawful rights. And there's so many laws that are in this MOU that highlight that, Canada.
Could we go to page 7, please, of this document? The second last paragraph on the page, please. Shoot, I may have the wrong page. Excuse me a moment.
You'd said 6 before, but
I just don't want to get it wrong twice.
That's why we're here, because we did get it wrong. We chose division over unity, and hopefully we'll get it right, and we don't have to
Okay.
go down this path again.
just, if you can just wait for the question.
Excuse me, it is page 6, second last paragraph on page 6. You see at the end of that paragraph, Mr. Bauder, you've written here that the words convoy for freedom and Operation Bear Hug got out internationally, deeply embarrassing our Liberal minister, specifically Trudeau and Freeland, as they were called out by the international community, as they rightfully should be. You see that?
Yep.
Who specifically in the international community did you have in mind when you wrote?
I don't have names. There's videos all over the place. Like you'd have to do that research yourself. There's a lot of evidence out there, and if you would like or you need evidence, by all means, I can provide it. I just don't have that recollection off the top of my head today.
I just wanted to understand what you had meant, sir. That's all. That's
Yep.
okay. Thank you. Could we go now to another document that is a letter from you of February the 16th? It's JBA 708. You see, this is a letter from Canada Unity. I take it by you that you submitted to the commission and wrote to the Ottawa Police. Do you see that?
Correct.
And if we look at the third and fourth paragraph on the page, please. Starting with the paragraph that starts Canada Unity and the Convoy for Freedom. Do you see that?
Correct.
And you say that you're also very concerned to hear about the estimated 2,000 missing firearms from Peterborough, Ontario, right?
When crimes are committed, what do? We call the police, okay? And we had intel. We couldn't confirm or deny or anything. We just had intel. And any intel of crimes being committed that we could identify, hey, right away, 911. This was a little bit more important that required, because it just, as you can see, this was more where it felt that if it was put in a document, that maybe it would get a little bit more assistance from the police to make sure that if you can scroll the very top. And I'm not a weapons expert. All I know is that LRAD weapon was causing a lot of fear amongst everybody. And it was, so we wanted to do our best. Remember, we're partnerships with the police all the way through. Hey, what's going on? Can you please address this and put everybody at peace. Because if that had been the case, we would have all said, no, I would have contacted everybody. I would have stood on buildings and said, no, please.
Well, if we can just go back to my question, you'd become aware around February the 13th when it came out in the newspapers that there had been a trailer of approximately 2,000 stolen firearms from a trailer in Peterborough, Ontario. Is that what you're referring to?
From the best of, I mean, whatever's here is what I can recall from what was happening. There was a lot going on. It's just,
You don't dispute that timing, though, do you?
no, this is just a risk mitigation process to try to, give the police an opportunity to respond and do some.
And you say your concern is not least because of that number of firearms, clips, and ammo being so easily taken, but because of their unknown location, right?
Yeah, that's the evidence. I mean, we were getting intel that this was happening and they didn't know where it was. So.
And you
report it.
immediately, if you look to the next paragraph, you said, we have concerns that these weapons will be used against peaceful demonstrators or the citizens of Ottawa in order to blame the participants of this lawful demonstration, right?
Correct.
You were concerned that there was a connection between the events of the that were occurring in Ottawa on the Freedom Convoy and the theft of this large quantity of firearms, right?
I didn't know anything other than I got some intel, and I can't connect any of the dots. I'm not this is just an observational request letter, really, that this is stuff that I'm getting. It's concerning. It's deeply concerning. And I don't have all the evidence or the facts, but please investigate and put us at ease.
Sure. Sure. And you knew by February the 16th about the fact that a large quantity of firearms had been seized under search warrant in Coutts, Alberta at the border blockade, right?
I'd heard of some stuff that was being seized and so on and so forth at that time.
Regardless, it was a reasonable concern for you to wonder if there was a connection between these stolen firearms in Peterborough and what was going on in Ottawa, Windsor, and elsewhere.
Yeah, because this was so close. When you get a rumor or speculate, you don't play around with this. Like, this is serious business, and it's over my pay grade. And I felt that the right response was to notify the police. So that's what we did.
Thank you, Mr. Bauder. Those are all of my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next are the convoy organizers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bauder. My name is Brendan Miller, and I'm counsel to the Freedom Corp, which is an organization that represented the protesters that were here in Ottawa in January and February of 2022. I am the lesser, better-looking Brendan of the lawyers.
Come forward or put your mic a little bit.
Yes, sure.
There you go.
Okay. So I want to first discuss with you again, you've mentioned and has been put in evidence this memorandum of understanding, right?
Correct.
So I take it that was just basically a piece of paper, fair?
Yeah.
Right. And therein, and nothing that I've seen at least, Canada Unity has never called for any form of violence.
No,
You never called to violently overthrow the government of Canada.
never.
You never offered to do any form of sabotage, like blowing up bridges or anything like that.
No.
No, you didn't.
Actually, can I, from that one there, speaking of rumors again,
Yeah.
we got a rumor that our big trucks down in Windsor, or the big bridge down there, right? That the vibration. So we put a call out, used our social media. Hey, everybody, if this is the case, out, get off that bridge.
Okay.
And that's all that I could do from my position to try to risk mitigate, right? Anything to do with risk,
Right.
I'm going to jump in and try to take a high risk down to a LERP.
Right. But I take it that there was no motivation and no expression on part of your organization and yourself to call for any form of violence or
No.
destruction of property.
No, we're
Okay.
calling for love and unity and peace and giving bear hugs. I mean, violence is the last thing in our minds.
Now, you don't have to answer this question, and I'm just telling you because you don't have a lawyer, because what I'm about to ask you is subject to privilege, okay? So you don't have to answer it.
Yep.
You're not required. Did you have a lawyer help you prepare the memorandum of understanding?
No.
Okay,
No, just 2 truck drivers.
2 truck drivers. So it's just a document written by 2 truck drivers?
Yeah.
All right, with no legal advice?
No.
All right, and you can agree with me that in that document, of course, it's proposing that the Governor General and the Senate would essentially take over government in consultation with the committee? Is that?
Not take over government.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
They would, because those are the key holders of our laws.
Mhm.
Okay. When Trudeau messes up, we're supposed to be able to go to the Governor General and have a communication with her or him or whoever is elected in that position. And when you research into the Helsinki Act, you're going to find a very, very interesting.
Right.
aspect.
And I don't
So-
need to, this is just the only question. I just want to make sure you're clear. You understand, of course, the Governor General is appointed by the Prime Minister?
Correct.
Right? And you understand that senators are appointed in
Correct.
in Canada? So those are non-democratic actors, right?
Yep.
Right? So can you agree with me that what you were actually asking for was somewhat of an undemocratic solution?
Well, democratic, I guess. I mean, if you're asking to come together at a table and
Right.
communicate, and
Yeah.
if they don't respond, you have nothing,
Right.
right? You got nothing.
Right. And
You're going to communicate yourself into the wall because
and
it takes 2 parties to
I-
make an MOU
Right, I get it.
become
okay.
something.
But the other thing I want to ask you is this, is that my clients, Freedom Corp, Tamara Litch, Tom Marazzo, Chris Barber, et cetera, none of them supported the memorandum of understanding. They actually asked you to withdraw it, right? It was them who requested it.
I didn't hear them request. They didn't come to me personally and say,
Okay.
James, would you request this? My wife and the Sovereign Clan mums, we talked, and out of respect, just to say, hey, I mean, it served its purpose,
Okay.
right? At that point, because of other situations with the Freedom Corp, where I was put Tom in place, and then from there I backed off because I was dealing with all the shit that Pat had been doing and everything
Yeah.
else, and I didn't even get a chance to come and talk to the Freedom Corp. I didn't
Yeah.
even know who they were.
Okay. And so,
Really, I didn't know who the Freedom Corp was until weeks down the road.
all right. And I take it my friend with the government, he put to you a discussion or a statement that you made about the Prime Minister had been condemned by the international community. Do you remember when he put that to you just moments
Oh,
ago?
yeah.
Right. Was what you're making reference to, just to remind you, was it the March 2022 incident where the Prime Minister was to speak in European Parliament and a bunch of the members of Parliament walked out and gave speeches against him invoking the Emergencies Act? Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, that's there's evidence out there. It's pretty easy to find, but yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Nice to meet the Freedom Corp for the first time.
Call on the Ottawa Police Service.
Thank you very much. My name is David Michikowski. I'm a lawyer for the Ottawa Police Service, Mr. Bauder.
Nice to meet you, Dave.
Thank you. You too. I understand that you participated, you said, in an earlier convoy to Ottawa. Is that right?
Yeah,
And that was the United We Roll?
yeah,
That was in 2019?
correct.
And I believe in that case, you ended up staying in Ottawa for several weeks
2019.
in 2019.
Yeah, no, we came, we were here for 3 days and we went back home.
3 days.
Yeah.
And it was peaceful?
Yeah,
And were you parked on Wellington?
I believe we were there and then we were out at Arm Prior and then we came back in. I think it was back and forth for a couple of days, honked our horns and went home.
And you maintained contact with the police while you were
I was
here?
not an organizer in that first 2019. That was compliments of Glenn Carrot and Haley Whale. I was just, I was here with my camera and I was a participant and I was invited to be on the convoy because, trucker and I was just invited. I was a participant and my wife had told me, she says, James, this is my first launch of Canada Unity kind of thing. She says, it's not about you. Point the camera on everybody else and give them their voice and,
Right.
and let their voice be on the platforms.
Sorry,
I wasn't an organizer of 2019 at all. No capacity at all.
Appreciate that. But you were here with a number of other vehicles, correct?
Yep.
And you had no issues with the police?
No.
No problems?
Not that I was aware. No, I was too busy feeding the homeless in Ottawa.
Okay. And so there'd be no reason for the police to suspect this time that the convoy you participated in would cause problems because it didn't last time either, correct?
No correlation at all, none. And I wasn't involved in with any of the dealings with the police for 2019 at all.
Right.
Just a participant.
I just want to talk about the parking situation. You talked about where you could park in Ottawa. Do you recall that?
Which time?
This time.
Okay.
And I think you said you had some maps.
The first bear hug or the second bear hug?
I'm sorry?
The first bear hug or the second bear hug?
This time when you were here in February.
Okay, second bear hug 2.
Right.
Okay.
And so you said you were given some maps. So if we could just maybe call up that map, it's JBA 400068. And so you'll see this, we'll just scroll through it for a minute and then I'll come back to it.
Can you just back up for a second, please?
Sure.
Take direction from the police whenever applicable. Leave open space for emergent vehicles at all times. No closed trailers permitted on Wellington. All staging areas must be kept on adjacent emergency vehicle. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And this is what you were referring to. And then there's some maps if we scroll down.
Yeah. There's a lot of maps.
Right. So this is what you were talking about, the information you had, correct?
Logistics and planning and all sorts of stuff.
And so if we could please look at page.
That was a big team that put this all together.
Were you coming eastbound on Highway 417?
Which time?
This time.
I actually came in from the east.
Right. So
with Martin and the Eastern convoy.
Okay. So were you traveling eastbound on Highway 417?
Eastbound. No, westbound.
You were coming
No,
westbound.
I'm from Calgary. I don't know your
Okay,
streets.
so I'll just-
Tree and these maps, I got a big team.
Okay.
Okay. And I know that they specialized in doing a lot of logistics and mapping and everything else. I just know that I overviewed and I made sure that the main, the safety points were in correlation for all of our captains. And if our captains had any problems or questions, then we would make a change.
And so you weren't able to park on Wellington this time, correct?
Yeah. All points lead to Wellington.
And so you'll see on page 3, the map shows parking only in curb lane, capacity 38 tractor trailers. Do you see that on Wellington?
Yep.
And so
that was our goal all the way along, was take the curbs, leave the center open for everybody, and then we're there lawfully and we're,
right. But you see there's a limited amount of parking on Wellington.
If you
correct?
know how long,
Sorry,
if you know how long a block is and how long 53-foot trailer is and so on and so forth, and you do the math roughly, you can get about 38 tractors in there.
Right. So you agree with me, there was limited parking and you knew that on Wellington Street, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And so if we keep scrolling down, there are then instructions for where vehicles are supposed to come in, depending on whether they're coming from the west or the east. And there are staging areas for those vehicles, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So there's nothing that suggested that there was unlimited parking on Wellington, correct?
Nope.
Okay. And if you could also look at OPP, speaking of maps and parking, if we could just turn up OPP 404261. And so if we could turn please to page 5. You will see on the bottom, if you look at Parliament Hill Area 1, you'll see the traffic plan provides that a decision will be made by the incident commander based on the location of the individual convoys on when to shut down traffic in this key area. And then if you scroll down a little further, where it's a stacking area, you'll see the real estate roadway on Wellington will be filled on a first come basis, no spots reserved, and then vehicles are to be staged along Wellington. And so there were specific instructions you understood as to where the convoys were supposed to be parking, correct?
Correct.
And then just finally, just to conclude, there is an article in, I believe, Vice magazine about you. Have you seen that one?
You got it?
Well, let me just.
If you're going to reference it, do you want to pull it up?
Let me just ask you this, sir. The article talks about you having Facebook postings saying that the 2020 election in the US was rigged.
What's that have to do with this?
I'm
Let's leave
just
the US
asking
out
you
of it. I mean,
if that's what's posted on your.
I believe that it was rigged, but
Right.
what's that got to do with this?
And you've shared on that Facebook hashtags for QAnon. Fair?
Yeah, so
And that 9/11 was planned by a shadowy government body. Is that correct?
if you've seen it, there again, you're trying to make me recall stuff that I don't have to recall, but I'm going to take your word
Okay.
that you've seen it with your own eyes, obviously, that you're trying to do stuff. But what's the point? What does that have to do with us being here to talk about an emergency act that was unlawfully invoked by Trudeau?
Right. And
Hashtags?
just to, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just to finish off, I understand, and I'll pull up this document and maybe you could just confirm it. It's OPP 403562. And if we could please go to page 5. Just going to ask you about 2 pages on it. The third bullet under open source information, sorry. Yeah. And so it indicates an image of Ottawa police notice to demonstrators has been posted to the Freedom Convoy Facebook group page. And you see that?
Yep.
Okay. And is that in fact correct? You did see that notice to protesters?
Negative.
You did not see it?
Nope. This is Freedom Convoy 22. I'm Convoy for Freedoms, the original.
Okay, so you didn't see that. Okay.
No.
And then if you could please go to page 7. The second paragraph, I believe. Yeah, you're actually highlighted in there. And it indicates police information indicates James Bauder of Canada Unity was more so aligned with King, that's Pat King, his current position as to who he may align with or direct his some odd 40 odd trucks remains a gap. So am I correct that you were in fact aligned with Mr. King?
In what perspective?
In terms of your participation in the
So Pat King, I mean, it's no secret. I mean, the guy's a social media guy, and that's what we brought Pat King in for. It was social media, and he was really good at it. Plus, he also had a background in convoys and logistics and stuff like that. So I mean, Pat was Pat, and we don't have to agree. That's the beauty of all of this, is that we all had individual rights to be here, and we came together as a team with our indifferences.
Right, and then it talks about you having about 40 odd trucks that you believed were in your control. Is that a reasonable estimate?
No.
Was more or less?
With respect to what date, when, and 40 trucks, like I don't even.
That you would have some influence on whether they would stay or go.
I don't have influence over anybody that's exercising their Bill of Rights. Nor would I ever want to.
Okay, thank you
We're
very
all
much.
free will to come here on our own.
Thank you very much, Mr.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next is the Ontario Provincial Police, the OPP.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, sir. Can you see me and hear me okay?
You're on mute, or we can't hear you, so.
Is he here in the court?
No, he's.
Oh, Zoom.
Zooming.
Oh,
He's
Zoomy
zooming
Zooms.
in. We're-
Okay.
We're high tech.
I was like,
here.
huh? What?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay, I guess there might be a bit of a delay, which caused that issue. But sir, can you see me and hear, can see me on the screen and hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Right, my name is Chris Diana. I'm counsel to the OPP. I just have a couple of questions that just arose out of some of the evidence that you gave in response to questions from my friend, counsel to Government of Canada. He brought you to a document where you expressed some concern that a number of firearms had been stolen from the Peterborough area. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I take it you were concerned about the possible existence of firearms, perhaps, in your area there?
Rightfully, yes.
Right. Do you know what happened with those firearms?
No, that was the last I heard of it, was that report.
Right.
And then from there, I got distracted and off to another, putting out something else.
Okay, so I would put to you, and just because I don't think that's information that should be out there without resolution, but I would put to you that those firearms were recovered only a couple of days after they were stolen. Do you know
That's
that?
good. No, I honestly, after that, there was a lot of other things and I just didn't get a chance to follow back on it, but I'm glad that, you know, if we were able to help in any way and just alert, yeah, you know, it's just one of those things when you see something, you phone Crime Stoppers kind of thing. So we were just
Well,
doing
I
our
think-
part
I think-
to help.
Sorry, thanks. I think police services were aware
Okay.
of it, but Commissioner, I think this is an important fact that again, that I don't think should be just kind of out there as a loose end. And although this document was not on the list to be put to the witness, I think it's relevant to this issue. And so I would like to refer to it now on this point. And that's document OPP 401549. And if we can make it a bit bigger, thank you. And sir, you will not recognize this document as internal email correspondence within the OPP. If you can go to page 2, please. And under it says update 10, this is an email from Brad Collins, who's with the OPP to a number of others within the OPP. You'll see it says Peel Regional Police confirmed the recovery of the stolen load of firearms from Peterborough Police Service jurisdiction. Information developing, but the load of rifles has been recovered, save for possibly a few individual pieces removed from skids. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you, Commissioner. I have no further questions, but I thought that was a factual issue that should be dealt with.
Thank you for clearing this up, that we were able to help assist in catching some bad guys.
Yep, no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, counsel for former Chief Slowly.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tom Curry for the former chief. We have no questions for Mr.
Oh,
Bauder.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next is City of Ottawa.
Alyssa Tompkins for the City of Ottawa. This city has no questions for this witness. Thank you.
Next is the Ottawa Residents Coalition.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bauder. My name is Paul Champ. I'm lawyer for the Ottawa Coalition of Residents and Businesses. Just have some questions for you.
Nice to meet you, Paul.
Nice to meet you. The MOU, people could sign that or show support for it online or?
At the present time that we had it going out there, you could sign on it.
Right.
And then you would get a digital certificate of authenticity and everything else stating that you actually signed it, like DocuSign.
Right. Right. And to your knowledge, did the other, some of the convoy organizers, did some of them sign it?
There's no way I could sit here and recall close to
That's fine.
400,000 signatures.
That's fine. No problem. So Next, I just want to talk to you a little bit about what the plan was when you were coming to Ottawa. You know, seeing some of the videos and whatnot, and your Zoom call on January 23rd with Mr. Barber and Ms. Belton and Mr. King. What was the plan when you were going to come to downtown Ottawa? You were going to try to like encircle downtown. Was that what Operation Bear Hug was?
No. We wanted to come here and talk with our government, the federal government specifically.
Okay, I'd ask the clerk to bring up document COM 00838. And that's the transcript. While he's calling that up, I want to ask you another question about some of the protest tactics you were thinking about when you came to Ottawa this time. Was it discussed or was it planned to have groups of people without masks go into restaurants and shops and stores?
Yeah.
That was part of the plan, to make the point that you're free people who could go where you want.
Yep. Because I mean, we were here for Bear Hug 1, right? And we've got all the videos of us exercising under the Bill of Rights, our lawful freedom of choice. And it just proves that when you follow the path of law, you'll find that these mandates don't have the law to back them up. And that's why we went with the police and we talked with the police and we communicated with the police and we got it all on video.
Sure. But
they're there all the time. And at any given time, if we had committed and broken laws, we would have been arrested right there. But you know what? The police of Ottawa were really helpful and they showed us that we can do lawful events. And from there, we told Ottawa that when we were here, we would be back.
But the plan was as a form of protest to go into restaurants and shops without masks to show that.
We were protesting that all over the world.
And I know I'm going to regret doing this, but the Canadian Bill of Rights has property rights. What about the property rights of the restaurant or the shop owners? Why couldn't they ask people to not come in unless they're wearing masks? Didn't they have those rights? Or was your rights more important than their rights?
Well, let's see here. So you're asking Canadians to violate and participate in an unlawful mandate. So I don't want to break the law and put myself in a situation where, you know, like these mandates are going to be proven that they were unlawful all the way through. And history will write that, not me.
If you could just bring up page 27, and while that's coming up, I'll ask you just another question on that, Mr. Bauder. But wasn't that maybe a little bit of a recipe for conflict at times if a store owner or like a teenage staff asked people to leave who aren't wearing masks and they wouldn't leave? Wasn't that a risk of some conflict there?
I'd say that the risk of conflict was the day that the unlawful mandates were put across Canada and our government ignored us from there on in.
Right. So because the government imposed those unlawful mandates, that gave you and the people you protest with.
Thank you for saying they were unlawful.
The people that you and protest with could then override the rights of a staff.
No, we couldn't override anybody.
Or could threaten a staff.
Couldn't
if they
threaten
said,
anybody.
Please, if I could finish, but when a staff member would ask people to leave, you saw some conflicts in stores and restaurants, didn't you, Mr. Bauder?
Seen conflicts all over this country.
Yeah, but you saw some in Ottawa while there were several thousands people at downtown and big trucks going into stores.
Yeah, no, and that's why we brought the police along with us and they handled conflicts.
If you can try and you're eager to answer, I understand, but if you could wait till the question's finished to answer.
Sorry.
So if we could just roll to near the bottom of this page where it starts, Mr. Patrick King, just up a bit. Mr. Patrick King, you lit the spark here again, but it's not just going to roll into Ottawa and park in the trucks for a couple of days. James, give them an idea of what's going to... I apologize.
Slow down for the translators. Please.
Thank you. James, give them an idea of what's going to partake in Ottawa when we're there. Just an idea. Don't let the cat out of the bag just yet, but let them give them a little bit of an idea. What was the cat in the bag at that point, Mr. Bauder? Do you recall?
What date is this?
This is, I apologize, Mr. Bauder. This is a transcript of your Zoom call with Ms. Belton and Mr. Barber and Mr. King on January the 23rd as you were planning. If we go through, maybe this will assist your memory. So at the bottom, it says Mr. James Bauder. Okay, well, let's see here. What is a bear hug detail? Well, we're going to have some fun doing a bunch of convoys all over Ottawa. Okay, we won't mention where, but we're going to have fun definitely going a whole different pile of convoy activities. We may potentially convoy over to Justin Trudeau's house. Good, says Mr. Barber. Mr. James Bauder, little things like that. We may get stuck on a couple of bridges, things like that. So that was part of the plan, Mr. Bauder, is to maybe block bridges for a period of time?
Well, if you notice that when we were in Ottawa the first time, we did block a lawful blockades, right? So, I mean, we are allowed under our Bill of Rights and so on and so forth to do coordinated with the police. We wouldn't have done any of this without the police. I can tell you that. So.
But what you did in 2019, Mr. Bauder.
I didn't do 2019. Okay, that was another organizer. So please.
Right. So
you have to understand that was already put on record that I did not have anything to do with 2018 as a organizer.
Right. You didn't have anything to do with organizing.
I just said you're homeless. That's it.
But you participated in that protest in 2019, and that protest in which you participated with a number of trucks in a convoy. You came from staging areas a few times a day, drove around downtown a few times around the Parliament buildings, and then would go back. And you did that a few days, and that was a successful protest.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So this time you had to do something more. Is that right? Right? That was the plan. You had to do something more. You had to not simply come downtown, you had to stay downtown and create a bear hug around downtown. Is that right?
That's your words.
Well, Operation Bear Hug is your words, but is that what it meant? You wanted to do something different and bigger this time. Is that right?
Yeah.
And
because obviously every other option to try to communicate with this government had failed.
That's right. So you needed to increase the volume, so to speak.
Correct.
You had to encircle downtown and apply some pressure, right?
What do you mean by encircle and apply pressure?
Well, encircle, have trucks all around downtown.
Love, hug,
right?
Hug.
Yeah.
Love.
So okay. So and apply pressure
to who? To what?
To the people that you're hugging. So. Okay. All right, Mr. Bauder, I only have a couple more minutes here with you, but I want to ask you about horns. Now, the horns, when they're very loud and when they're all going at the same time, I've heard it described as something that's almost biblical. Is that something how you would describe it?
Yeah, I'd say that with the reference of the trumpets and bringing down the walls of Jericho.
Right, and that's where I was going to go. Joshua Book 6 talks about how you bring down the walls of Jericho with the trumpets, right?
I have honestly never read the Bible, and I just got baptized last year, and I still haven't read the Bible. And I really am a weird duck, and I don't get it, but that's the truth.
Could we, particularly council, I don't want to set off things, and I think it's important that at a minimum, council give the example.
What does that mean, sir? So did I do something wrong?
No, you did nothing
Oh, I'm
wrong.
sorry.
I'm just having some trouble with the
What council?
with the crowd and council, but that's my problem. Don't worry. You're giving your evidence. Everything's okay from your perspective.
Okay.
I'm nearly finished here, Mr. Bauder. I just want to understand. So you haven't read the Bible, but it sounds like you know the story of Jericho, right?
I've heard of it from others.
Right.
It was fascinating. It was actually really interesting.
Right, and that inspired you a bit for the tactics for the convoy protest in Ottawa, correct?
No.
Well, you raised it before I did.
So
right?
If you want to get into this and talk about God, so when I got baptized, I was told by God to put this convoy together and come to Ottawa, and that's where I'm at.
I don't want to get into big discussion about your faith, Mr. Bauder. I respect your faith. I just want to understand to what extent your faith inspired the tactics that you suggested and worked on with others with Ottawa. So it's my understanding with Jericho, the plan was to encircle the city. They walked around the city 6
I think it
days
was
in
just the
a row.
Parliament building where they
Right.
walked around the
Right.
Parliament building because that's where the evil's at.
Well, and on Saturday, the first day of the protest, Saturday, the 29th, isn't that what the trucks did? They did a circle around the Parliament buildings. They went across the bridges over to Gatineau and around, right?
The first bear hug?
Yeah, no, this one on January of 20.
Well, I don't know. I was out in the east, so I don't know what was happening on that because we had 2 days of convoys coming from all over Canada. And I was, like I said, I was with the Eastern crew and we got stuck out in the middle of nowhere. And then we had to come in here and that pissed off a bunch of people. And it's just what it is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bauder.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Democracy Fund Citizens for Freedom, JCCF.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bauder. My name is Rob Kittredge, and I'm counsel for the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. And you, like me, are a chatty man and a challenging witness. So I'm going to try and do the impossible
trying to
here.
be challenging, honestly.
Well,
I'm trying to be as open as I can.
I agree that you are being as open as you can, but I'm going to try and persuade you to give me yes or no answers if you can, because what we're trying to, one of the things we're trying to do here, we have a short period of time, and I am trying to construct an argument that the Emergencies Act was invoked unlawfully by Trudeau, and your yes or no answers will help me to do that.
I can play with this.
Pardon me?
I can get along with it.
All right, well, let's see how well we do.
Do we have a clock?
So what I'm looking for is a little clarification on a series of questions that my friend Counsel for Canada asked you earlier on today about how you and others in Ottawa inspired other protests across Canada and around the world. You had an emotional response to those questions, as I think I would as well if I were in your position. And I just wanted to get a bit of clarification for the record about what inspired meant to you in that context. And again, if we can do yes or no question, yes or no answers, that would be great. Counsel for Canada said that when he said you, he didn't just mean you, he meant, and I quote, the collective you, meaning you and the other people in Ottawa. Was that your understanding when you answered those questions?
No, I thought he was referring to me personally.
To you specifically?
Yeah.
All right. So Counsel for, I thought, well, it doesn't matter what I think. Counsel for Canada suggested that you inspired other protests across Canada and around the world. You agreed. You remember that series of questions, do you?
Yeah, the questions, yeah.
All right. I understood your answers and your emotional response to mean that you were proud that the protest here in Ottawa had been seen by others in Canada and around the world, and that they had independently decided to protest themselves. Was that your understanding? Yeah. Can you say yes for the record?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's a written transcript.
Yes.
So. And
I say sorry a lot.
Pardon me?
Typical Canadian. I say sorry a lot.
Right, as do I. So while the Ottawa protesters, yourself included, may have inspired protests outside of Ottawa, you didn't organize any of those other protests, did you?
No.
People elsewhere may have seen what you and others were doing here in Ottawa, but they independently decided to follow that example and raise their voices in protest, didn't they?
Yes.
And just to be, I guess, fair to you, since you've been so fair to me, I have a minute or two left. If I was wondering if there was anything you'd like to tell us about how it felt to inspire people around the world to raise their voices.
Get into my feelings.
Objection. I'm not sure how that's relevant.
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay. I still to this day, how I feel. I'm broken, but because people come together and they chose on their own accord to choose one word, unity, I will forever be grateful and thankful for Canada for giving the world hope, because we needed it. I got a lot of feelings and I'm sorry.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bauder. Those are my questions.
Thanks for the bear hugs.
Mr.
Keep going.
Commissioner, that's Paul Champ on the record. I apologize for not saying it earlier for the purposes of transcripts. I just know I didn't ask Mr. Bauder any questions about his many hateful comments about Islam, his many hateful and bigoted comments about homosexuals.
I'm not sure how this is relevant. What are
I
you
agree.
doing
I
here?
didn't think it was relevant. That's when I asked, but that's why I'm asking why Mr. Bauder is given an opportunity to answer those kinds of questions, which are otherwise irrelevant.
Well, it's firstly, it was a question within his time period and he was asked how he felt. I'm not sure what that adds, if that's your point in terms of the evidence. But in any event, I was going to give him, as he's unrepresented, an opportunity to say something at the end. So I think all this is done is do it in advance. But what exactly is your point? You want it, what, struck from the record, or do you want a further opportunity to cross-examine? What is it you're after?
Well, Mr. Bauder has made many comments about unity. If that's relevant to the commission, I would ask him some questions about his views on unity.
If you want to do further cross-examination, you stopped at the end. I was prepared. I didn't cut you off. If you want to come back up, you can go ahead.
Mr. Bauder, you've testified many times about your love and brotherhood for others and your love of unity, but you would agree with me, you don't feel unity towards all Canadians. It does not include Canadians, for example, of Islamic faith. Isn't that right?
No.
You are upset that you feel the government of Canada promotes Islamic ideologies. You've said that before, correct?
Was that before I found God?
Okay, so you've said that before.
Was that before I found God? Because you're asking dates, and I don't agree with what you're saying now to date, right now.
Okay, well, that's good. I appreciate
that's where I'm under oath to
appreciate
date.
that.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, I thank you. I appreciate that. Now, we've seen some documents up there where you've referred to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as Justine Trudeau. Why do you refer to him as Justine Trudeau?
Why not?
Are you trying to suggest something? It's emasculating or making some kind of comments or suggesting
Could be a typo.
that
I don't
he's,
know. Could be a typo. I don't know.
Pardon me?
Could be a typo.
Was it a typo? It's your words, sir.
Well, maybe it's a typo. I don't know.
But are you telling us it's a typo, or were you trying to suggest something because you think it's somehow negative to be of transgender or so forth? Is
As
that
an
the point
alpha
you're trying to make?
male, trucker, oil patch, farm boy kind of guy, and seeing old little Mr. Trudeau there in his boxing shorts with his juice box water bottle sort of things. Yeah, we call him Justine.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay, that's any re-examination?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bauder. You're free to go.
Am I free to go, or?
Yes, you are. This is, you're completed your examination.
Right on. I'm not done. Am I not allowed my 15 minutes or no?
If you'd like to make a statement, that's fine. You
There's a
can have it.
video that I'd really like to bring up, and I lost my video stuff, and it's got to do with, hang on here. Where is the video? Jason, where are you? The speech out in Quebec. The unities. Which number? Media press release. I don't have it on here. Okay, is it in the file or no? Which number?
I just,
I'd like to leave. I really would like to have that video of this.
I have 4 videos with a JBA prefix. I can give you the titles if that helps you that I have. I have one that says maskless shopping, one that says James at Trudeau's house, December 21st.
That's worth watching.
One that's MOU served December 21st.
No.
And then we already showed JBA 81 during commission councils.
Well, we tried to upload a lot of evidence and we had problems and technical issues and so on and so forth, but it was too bad.
Maybe you could just sum it up for us.
It was when we left Calgary, my wife and I, and for those that want to do their research in Canada and look into the definition and our history and our governance and respects to division over unity. When I was looking at all the governance aspects and policy aspects, looking for a solution, you can imagine when the word unity was given to me. And that has forever changed my life, my heart, my mind. And from there, I did this little research because I was very stricken that in our country, there was nothing really out there for Canada unity. Like you Googled back then, and there was only one reference that I could find as a Western Alberta oil patch farm boy growing up with this: the West hates the East, and the East hates the West. And I started asking myself, well, they're Canadian, aren't they? They're our brothers and sisters. Where does this division come from? So get into our governance, and I find out that by design, we are designed to be divided, right in our governance. And that disturbed me deeply. So that's when I made the first prayer. I said, God, what do we do? And he says, unity. What? How am I going to put that into a corrective action? Well, you look at our history and how close we were to dividing. Quebec, somebody in Quebec saved this country. And I don't know who. I tried to find this one person. Because if you remember in history, when Quebec wanted to separate, and we had a 51-49 vote. What if somebody hadn't raised their hand and said unity? Because that was the only reference I could find at that time, was somebody had raised their hand in Quebec and said unity. And then there was a Canada unity flag. And that was it. And I was like, this can't be. So I went on Google and I registered all of everything, Canada unity, all of it, trademark, all the everything.
Yeah,
and
I'm not sure this is,
so
can I just interrupt you for a minute?
I mean, my stories, I try to, sorry, sir, I
I'm
tell too
just,
much stories.
it's a little too much of a story. And I'm not sure how
When
it helps us. I understand your unity.
This
is
video would
important,
tell it.
But that's fine. I think your message has been given. And
We've seen, let's wrap it up.
just please, like,
What I observed was that unity was missing, and I'm thankful to this day for Quebec for standing up and saving country and putting unity onto that table. It is my humble honor to come from the West and come out to Quebec with my wife and with the olive branch of unity and say, let's stop dividing, let's stop the division, let's come together. And thank you, Canada, for that precious moment in your history.
okay, thank you. We're going to adjourn for the afternoon break for 15 minutes.
The commission is in recess for 15 minutes. La commission est levée pour 15 minutes.
Oh, Canada. Je suis Jason Loving. Wow. How do y'all feel about all that? I don't think any of that was crocodile tears. I think that was pent up everything. I learned about Bear Hug 2.0. First saw it in the Hedden reports. I didn't know what it was. Now I know. Bear Hug 1.0 happened. Police were involved. They understand him. They know what they do. They say peaceful. They say, protest properly. That's some good foundation that people are doing the right things. Wow, how did you guys feel about that? Okay, go ahead and put a comment in. And if you're watching this later, put a comment down below in YouTube or Rumble or wherever. And what did you think about that part? Did you believe it? Was it crocodile? I don't think it was crocodile. I think that was a man who was really frustrated. And he sounds a lot like how I would probably sound. Whew. I am with him on the whole Quebec, Alberta, West thing should be done. That is a division that was artificial all along. It never was real. I'm glad to hear that coming out a lot today. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about that? All these years of Quebec and Alberta. 10th man, you're more angry than ever. About what? That the fact that we were pushed this far, and this is like the first time Canada is kind of really hearing a voice? Or you could be angry at tomorrow's headlines when none of this is there. What exactly are you angry about there, 10th? I like your perspective, so I'm very curious what you thought. Yeah, we saw slowly do it way different, right? Way different, but slowly. It didn't feel this way. Too bad he had some tech problems, huh? We'd like to see what that video was. I hope that makes its rounds and we can actually get it and see it. Something about Quebec, something in Quebec that they did. Be neat to see that. If anybody knows what that was, it's not in the evidence database yet. None of his stuff is. Especially that one document. He said, go look at it. It's got all the links. Go check it out. Treason. He can show treason. Well, a lot of people do make big steps and big reaches, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that's questionable. So I wouldn't mind checking it out. I don't know if it's what it is yet, but I wouldn't mind checking it out. We should research, right? Look into it. That citizen stood too much too late. Stood too much too late. Let's see if I can try and figure that out. Oh, Canada was first written in French. Can you sing it, Jeremy? It's a pretty cool song. We stand on guard for thee. I don't know if we want to be standing on guard. I think we might want to be taking steps forward. Move the front. Move the line forward. We got some unwinding to do. We got some things to change. I still, you said it a few times, 10th, but listen, when I can get in there and I'm going to take you in there and I'm going to sit down and you're going to talk about some of the stuff you know, and we're going to sit there and put some tents together. So what I mean by that, guys, if you didn't catch the chat with the 10th man last night, he had some excellent points about corruption and finding it and then bringing it to the House. How would we do it? And as I explained to him, I would just stand up and say, hello, Mr. Speaker. Hopefully it's a conservative one. I would like to plead the 10th, and then I will spill out whatever it is that we found. So let's go digging. Let's go find those strings, and let's go see where they lead. Was written for piano. Was it? Cool, Charlie. If any of you know how to play the piano, put it in there. And do we want to forget about Paul Chump? I think that should be his official name. Let's do a petition. He likes petitions. 400,000 people sign it. He has to legally change his name. Holy moly. I've never seen anything like that. He topped himself. I don't understand what happened with him. He's losing it. I feel real bad for him as a professional. Because, oh, geez, you had so many hours, so many days, so many weeks, so many years to get you there, and you're going to throw it all away for one client, one file, as big as it is. You're going to throw that all away for that? Oh, buddy. Jim, Rocky Mountain House, one of my favorite people. Jim, how you doing, buddy? When I first saw you pop up, I immediately went and told Paula, Jim's around. It's sweet. Come and check out your deer. I would like to come see. Is he still around? We'll come see that in chat, Jim. There was government overreach big time, for sure. Treason is very hard charge proof, for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, look. And it's also be a very hard charge to prosecute, right? Like, who do you call? What do you do? And Jim, I'm with you on this, and I think it has to be like clear cut. But what we might get into later is a whole bunch of other criminal code offenses, and they stack up. You know, if there's a whole bunch of them, they'll stack up. Concurrent, parallel, a whole bunch of different things can screw up a life with sentencing So there may be a lot of criminal code stuff that's far easier there, Jim, but we have a lot of investigating to do to figure out what's going on and get the proof, get the evidence, get a charge, make it stick, find a sentence. It's kind of how we have to do it, right? We got to use the system properly. I believe Trudeau told us to do that, right? Use the system. Yeah, look, Charlie, that's just a hit list. That's the ones you know about, Charlie. That's the ones that you remember right now know about. Yeah, but you're just iceberging it. There's a lot more than that. Most people are loving that kind. Then he says, hate Russians for other national, races, but one chance race, human race. Look, yeah, we're all human race. DNA, we're all human race. Let's enjoy it. I believe it was Ronald Reagan during maybe a UN address, something like that, talking about global unity. We would need an external force like something else that attacked us and how quickly we would unify. Why are we waiting for something like that? We don't have to wait. I liked what James did at the end there. Unity, Quebec, the West. Can we start that narrative and making it crumble too? Whew, that was pretty neat. Ellen, whatever you're laughing at, I agree. Because you got a great sense of humor. We need to send him a poster of AOC. Yeah, everybody brings up AOC. So maybe we'll see, I don't know. Well, she won't have to change her last letter. So Andrea Carzio Chump. Andrea Carzio Champ. She wouldn't even have to change her name. Still a C. But, imagine those offspring. I didn't think that far. When I look into the local service Canada payroll, it shows that a large portion of their pay goes to retired employees. Yeah, that's pensions and stuff. Well, what do you mean? Are you talking about this other? I know that they keep people around. I know they bring people back, even when retired. I know that retired people come back pretty frequently in government. I watched it myself because it is hard to get good people. Because the government jobs aren't super, super great. They're stable, they're secure, but there's no advancement. You can't build up a good salary and stuff like that unless you get super high. So, there's a bit of sacrifice to take a government job, but they do come back quite often after retiring. It's kind of neat or weird. Deer go and found a doe. It happens, doe, a deer. It happens, Joe or Jim. So we'll keep an eye out for another one for you. Rocky Mountain House is beautiful, everybody, and Jim knows it. All voters are on the take. Voters? I would say some. 10th, I would say some. The ones that want government handout and the ones that want the government to expand social, maybe. But there's a whole whack of people that don't feel that way. So I don't think they'd jump on that one with you there, 10th. I found myself... Jim, I love talking to you. If you ever want to be on this, Jim, I can send you an email. You'll click a link, probably say yes, accept, allow a couple times, and then you'll be on my screen. So if you ever want to do that, we can maybe do that. I know you got Starlink now, so you should be all right. Canada, Trey Dooney. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. But good job, Jeremy. Oh, wow. You got the whole thing there. Maybe. I don't know. That could be a recipe for chicken. I don't know. I missed all that action today. Sounds like a lot of fun. John, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Today is worth rewinding. There's a tip from the chat. Go ahead and put it on double speed. I haven't heard myself on double speed, so I don't know. If you can live through that, go ahead. But then you'll catch up a little bit quicker, and then it will just go to normal speed when you catch it live. But yes, James was a pretty amazing witness. There's a lot that came out. And absolutely, we can't forget that we started the day. Let me just get his full name. It's DJ or BJ. Sorry, I got mixed up with someone else, but Benjamin. That was a lot of enlightening conversation. There was a lot going on there. So John, do rewind, catch up. The chat helps too. Do the rewind and watch the chat. There's a lot of good comments and stuff. Jim, I'm fascinated. It's almost a year and we're only here. Charlie, do you know Jim? Do you know Jim? Jim, do you want to tell people who you are? You can go ahead and throw it in there. Or if you say Jim, if you say go ahead, Jay, I can tell them who you are. You're a pretty cool dude. The program ended with a conversation hunk. Yeah, Charlie, we talked about this a lot of time. And it doesn't even have to be getting their way. It's just maybe sit down and explain it better than just saying we have to do this. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with the government that you shouldn't cave to demands for sure. But I don't think that there should be no liaisoning going on, especially if it's Canadian citizens. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Should at least talk to them. They are your taxpayers. Awesome, Jeremy. Jeremy's fun, isn't he? He's got some good comments here. Is very pro-phase. That happens a lot with translations, right? That happens a lot. There's not a one-to-one mapping of everything. Meanings are lost sometimes. Poor. See, look at you. Even spelling errors. That will help with the translation errors. There you go. We got some French going on. Better be careful. I would just go into French and then we'll have to do the rest in French. I can find the French audio. It's out there. We've heard it twice today. I like Jim's hat. Yeah, he's a cowboy. And he's a cool one too. No problem. And yes, my Bamboos is awesome. Okay, I'm assuming that yes is not for the introduction of you because I'm pretty sure I saw that in the chat before I asked that. So I'm going to wait for a second one to make sure that you are cool with me talking about who you are. Oh, Canada, land of our ancestors, your brow is adorned with glorious fuels. Jeremy, you're a poet? You're a poet? That's kind of neat. From your arm knows how to bear. Oh, bye, Facebook. That was 8 hours. So we're at the 8-hour mark. Yeah. Facebook just dropped. Bear your cross. Your history is a saga of the most brilliant exploit. Ooh, I wonder if people will clip that and, I don't know, am I a poet now, Jeremy? Sure. Yes, I'm happy with protecting your homes and rights. I don't think our rights have to be recovered. We just have to make the government realize we still have them. We always had them, and they're not his. They're not theirs. Hi, Jim. Nice to cyber meet you. Charlie, you would like Jim. Yeah, you would like Jim. He's a cool guy. Hi, Charlie. There you go. See? He's already on you. Hearts. Hey, Railroaded. And Charlie, you know Railroaded. Jim, meet Railroaded. Very cool person. Meet Stunt. Meet Jeremy. In fact, Jim, your best bet is to just scroll through and say hi to everybody. This chat is full of people, Jim, that you would like. All right, so there's still a lot here. Okay, there's still a lot here. The Bear Hug 2.0, they appear to be more aggressive in their protesting. He was very clear that they went from Bear Hug, the first one, whether he was involved or not, but there was a Bear Hug that was a little bit more aggressive when it came to maintaining and showing your rights. And now when we hear a lot of this whole going into restaurants when you're not invited, going into the food court when you shouldn't have been there, going a whole bunch of places with a bunch of masks on purpose, causing frustrations. Well, he admitted to that. That was his group. That was the Bear Hug group that did that. Again, I'm not judging them. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't. I just want you to understand a little bit that nobody's made that distinction up to this point. We had to hear from James himself to make that distinction that convoy was basically parked, they were dancing, they were doing stuff there, and then his group was protesting a little bit more aggressively, but legally, okay, legally, peacefully. And then now the narrative mixed it all up together, and then kind of chucked Bear Hug out and left it all there as kind of some sort of stink that was left on the convoy. So that's what I learned today. I learned that the narrative is kind of being clearer, like who was responsible for certain things. Is it really Central Convoy? Is it something else? So that's what I got from that one, because Bear Hug, he admitted, yeah. Did you also hear what he said about who was with him when they did all that? There was a lot of lawyer talk trying to talk over him to shut him up about it. But he was being very clear that the police were always with them, and the police would de-escalate the situations if there was any, and make everybody realize that they're not breaking the law.
Order à l'autre.
Whoa, they came back quick.
And if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe and press that notification button to receive more information like this. You can also follow me at yellowhead.vote to stay informed and get the inside scoop. Thank you.